Praise be Jesus Christ. My name is Father Jim Hutchins. I am a retired priest from the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'm here in my retirement home, and I'm preaching this time on the first Sunday of Lent. And I would encourage you to. One of the issues I'm talking about is in vitro fertilization, which is being promoted wrongly by President Trump. And I have some information at the very end of the homily, and I would urge you to listen through the whole thing, or move the button up so you get that last information. Okay. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. You shall worship the Lord your God, and him alone shall you serve. Our purification from sin during Lent must include ourselves, and then our church, and then our culture. Let's look at the depth of corruption in our church first. It needs to be addressed. The depth of corruption in our church is at this time unbelievable. Once you think you've heard the worst, some new scandal breaks out. First, it was the ignoring of the bishop's votes at Vatican Council to retain the Latin liturgy, and then the liturgy that ended up replacing the ancient liturgy was a shadow of the beauty and the richness of the ancient liturgy. False Spirit of Vatican II initiated these unliturgical changes. The bishops have still not corrected all these aberrations, forbidding the ancient Latin liturgy that was in place for 1,500 years was also against Vatican II. How come we are the first generation that is not able to handle a 1,500-year use of the ancient Latin liturgy? Why are we so different? What are we missing? What do we not understand? The clergy sex scandal continues, although the bishops claim that everything is under control. Pope Francis comes along with his famous "Who am I to judge?" quote, and this gave a blank check to all those who rejected the teachings, especially moral teachings of the Church. Sin was no longer a sin. Pope appointed a significant number of personnel who are on public record as contradicting the teachings of the faith. And as they say, personnel is policy. Our bishop's role in fostering illegal immigration is now front and center. Also, our bishops seem to have their lips sewn shut because they refuse to correct and comment on aberrant teachings and aberrant public figures who are such a source of scandal. I'm just reporting what has already been said by many about corruption. This is not just my favorite thing to say about the church, unfortunately. Our prayers are desperately needed to right these wrongs. Look what is happening in the church. The study was just published, which calculated that for every 100 persons entering the Catholic Church, there are 800 who leave it. So this is what the corruption has produced. The Philadelphia Archdiocese just published a petition asking prayers for the Pope in this Sunday's Prayer of the Faithful. That's all well and fine. But the wording urged prayers for the healing of the Pope, quotes, in every way. What's with the in every way? Wouldn't you think that the first thing we should pray for the Pope specifically, is the spiritual health and healing and salvation of the Pope? In many ways, also deprives the Pope of the prayers of the faithful for his salvation. Why should we not pray for the salvation of the Pope, no matter what kind of Pope we have? This and the things mentioned above are all a sign as Shakespeare said in one of his plays, there's something, Macbeth, Hamlet, there's something rotten in Denmark. Uh, let's look at our culture next. We are very pleased with many of the things that President Trump has done and has done so speedily. One thing we are not pleased with is his promotion of in vitro fertilization. The procedure consists in taking the egg of the woman and the sperm of the man and conducting fertilization in a petri dish. God did not say in the book of Genesis the two become one flesh in a petri dish. I'm glad he is. Uh, I'm glad the President Trump is aware of the heartbreak of infertility for a couple, but how can he not be aware of the immorality of the IVF procedure? He's hired nominated some very excellent, uh, good, intelligent people. Uh, Why does he not know this? The experience of infertility is truly a sad experience for couples wanting a child so badly. Thank God unlike some others, do see children as a blessing. But there's also a catch. The technology of IVF can be used to create one child, or is used to create one child through the killing of hundreds of others. So they see their own child as a blessing, and they miss the tragedy of others who have died so theirs may live. The extra embryos are destroyed or frozen. These embryos are human beings. Procedure also has other pitfalls. Here's one of them. Headline: a woman sued an IVF facility after giving birth to someone else's baby, being forced to give him away. Christina Murray, the mother involved, writes under the aforementioned headline, I spent my entire life wanting to be a mom. I loved, nurtured, and grew my child, and I would have done literally anything in my power to keep him. The baby boy this white mother gave birth to turned out to be of African descent. This baby was clearly not biologically hers. She was later forced to give the child to his original parents. After giving birth to the baby, she realized that the baby was not conceived using her own embryo, obtained through in vitro fertilization, since she and her sperm donor are white, and the baby she gave birth to was of African descent. Sperm donation, of course, is immoral. That's another issue. A DNA test confirmed that the baby was not biologically hers. However, she bonded with the child and desperately wanted to keep her child. The couple who were the real parents of the baby, when they found out what happened, however, sued her and won custody of the child. This is a mess. Miss Murray said about her court appearance, I walked in a mom with a child, a baby, who loved me and was mine and was attached to me. And I walked out with an empty shoulder. And they left me, and they left with my son. I saw him no different than if he were indeed mine. Further complication. And now she does not know if she has a biological child being raised by another couple. So she is suing the IVF facility. The facility apologized and said they were implementing policies that would prevent this from happening again. They called it an isolated incident, but that is not so. Such IVF mix-ups have been increasingly garnering high-profile attention. In 2021, two California couples raised children conceived from IVF who were not biologically their own for months until they discovered the mix-up and eventually swapped the children. One couple immediately realized something was wrong when they gave birth to a daughter with jet black hair and not light-colored like themselves. How many other mix-ups like this happen There are no noticeable and obvious physical trait differences. This is what President Trump is promoting. I read, however, happily, where Vice President J.D. Vance has spoken against IVF. The church, in calling this procedure immoral, uh, has been accused of not loving children. Can you believe it? A while ago, when I was pastor, I explained from the pulpit why the IVF process was immoral, and several people walked out. Later, I received about 8 or 10 phone calls condemning me for labeling IVF as immoral, as if I was against children, as if I was contradicting church teaching, which obviously they didn't know. As an aside, unfortunately, too many priests presume everyone believes all the teachings of the church. They therefore do not preach about some important issues. Former Holy Father Benedict XVI, however, was not fooled. He coined the phrase silent apostates. They come to church every Sunday, but really don't believe all the teachings of the church. Research has shown that those who frequent the parishes with Novus Ordo masses believe only 67% of the church's teachings. Of those who attend the traditional Latin Mass, 98% believe all the teachings of the church. As an example, yesterday I was hearing confessions at Man Up in Philly. Priest prepared the men for confession. They gave a talk. And I asked one of the men if the priest mentioned the teaching about the necessity of confessing a mortal sin before they go to communion. And he said no. And I have met this ignorance many times in many places. There is plenty of blame for corruption to go around. We're not preaching from the pulpit what needs to be preached. IVF is immoral, not only because of the terrible tragedies like the one I just mentioned. The procedure is itself immoral and cannot be justified. Making an immoral procedure better is also not the answer. IVF entails the conscious creation of scores of excess human embryos, human beings, who are killed after one or several are chosen for implantation. If several are implanted, the doctor recommends selective reduction, translation, abortion, if the parents do not want all the children. It is estimated that as many as 93% of all embryos created through IVF are eventually destroyed. Change that to killed. These are human beings. IVF is also against the natural order, separating sexuality from procreation, separating baby making from marriage bonding. It treats unborn children as a commodity, as a thing that can be purchased. It also makes possible for a single man or woman or same sex couples to buy a baby, depriving a baby of a mother or father. Moreover, sperm donors are anonymous. The child, therefore, who does live never knows who their actual father is. Pro-family activist and author Katie Faust decried the fact that IVF procedures kill 4 million babies each year, around 4 times as many children killed through abortion. Bishop Burbidge of Arlington, Virginia, thankfully one of the courageous few, writes, as priest and bishop, I have heard consistently of the heartache experienced by so many relating to the desire for family. And he, in his letter that he sent around to all the parishes, warns his readers of all the things that I have just mentioned above. He adds that also that employees in this business are coerced to go contrary to their professional right of conscience to reject such a procedure. There is also, uh, like abortion clinics, a Wild West atmosphere where there is a lack of basic health and safety regulations in these IVF clinics. The clinics claim to put women first, therefore, is absolutely laughable. For want of a better word, they are jerks. What fuels this evil engine is selfishness and arrogance. I want what I want when I want it. The main issue in back of that is the lack of belief in God. If there is no God, then everything is permitted. And that is the state of our culture at present. The good news is that there is a way to address the issue of infertility, either in the man or woman, that is according to church teaching. Catholic doctor, Dr. Thomas Helgers, approaches the issue by delving into the causes of infertility and healing them. There is no petri dish, there's no killing of embryos, no unknown sperm donor. There is only the marital embrace and the welcoming of the blessing of children the way God intended. When the issues causing infertility are addressed, the couple can, through their own love-making, fire a child of their very own. This NAPRO technology has been around for a long time, but unfortunately is not well known. NAPRO technology, however, is available in the Philadelphia area, across the street from Planned Parenthood at 12th and Locust. Dr. Monique Roberu is Dr. Hilder's representative there and is compassionately dedicated to caring for women and couples dealing with infertility. And she can also be contacted for the abortion reversal pill. Last but not least, let us look now at ourselves. Prayer, of course, is our chief means of participating in the draining of the swamp out of our own soul. Mortification and sacrifices added to prayer make our prayer more powerful. There's only so much each of us can do to address these larger issues. Prayer, however, prayer added to sacrifice and mortification is something that everyone can do and is powerful and can change the world. As you pray for the fulfillment of your own desire for holiness this Lent, pray also for the purification of those who are tempted to seek what leads them away from rather than toward God. God bless you.